Hey everybody, this is Munson Steve. So, executives with creative careers. I have the pleasure of today, when you think of young, phenomenal, intellectual, motivated individuals with skill sets that they can share. I'm so proud of this creative executive who truly understands the need, the marketplace, and is sharing insight on what it is to have the ingredients for success, to have access to success, and to be a part of the movement to change our community, to have the opportunity to have their dreams funded and to get the technical expertise that is necessary to survive and compete. Welcome, Roby, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. It's a cloudy day here, but not too much to keep me from being positive. So
When you think about success, there are about seven ingredients that make the difference. And you think, obviously, there have been big entrepreneurs like Famous Amos. You've got huge brands that have actually been built off these ingredients. And when you think about their success, could you share at least seven of those with us so that we can understand what it is? And by all those entrepreneurs, you've got some great news to kind of share with them so that they too understand that their dreams of being a phenomenal entrepreneur like Famous Amos and that brand. Can you do that for me?
100%. And I've had the pleasure really of working very closely with hundreds and thousands of Black businesses through the MBCC, working in the capacity, working to manage one of their programs called the American Dream Fund and Marketplace, created directly after COVID to catalyze the recovery from the pandemic, the economic damage. So yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate to have seen what's been working in the community. That being said, starting a business and being a business owner really requires you to, be an analytical thinker. It requires you to be organized, and it requires you to keep very detailed records, right, of everything going on so that you can measure your progress. So in terms of the first step to success, I would, before recommending, looking into how to start your business or getting your licenses, getting your insurance, any appropriate insurance, I recommend that you establish a business plan. And this is something that you'll hear all around, but a large percentage of businesses who start up with a business plan eventually reach success, right? So that being said, I recommend you guys establish this as a tool to number one, identify who your market is, right? What your market position is, who the competitors in your market are, and what strategies are they employing, right? What operating budget are you going to need in order to to get your product or your service out there, and then having that to reference back, and also a marketing plan, right? Having that to reference back to measure your progress is going to be extremely vital to any successful business. And to that point, the second step I would say to having a successful business is really is well, this is gonna be like just a very obvious one, but having the startup capital, right? You know, and this is a very interesting topic because there is different needs for different niches and different industries, where a small business owner selling a product retail will have less costs associated with starting a business. But a tech-based business building an ambitious app will probably have to, have a large following. And what we know in our community, there isn't as much opportunity to rely internally on funding sources, right? I mean, the capital is usually not there, the foundation is usually not there, and that's something that I'm personally a strong advocate for, Black wealth. So that said, you have to know how much you need in order to fund your business, and you have to have something in the bank. And there's some creative ways to get there if you are starting from scratch. I would employ you guys to look into resources like Fund Black Founders, who is bridging the gap between early stage funding, that family and friends round, and the idea. So, specifically for Black founders. So, really, that's something important that I really implore you guys to consider and take a look at. That's also a very important part of your business plan. So, if you have your business plan, you have an idea of what startup capital you need.
Right.
That
Let's kick the tires on that ingredients because many don't take the opportunity of the business plan to do the research so that there are facts and data that they can follow along in their roadmap, and actually banks can understand that they've done research. They've actually maybe tested and learned some ideas, shared where the opportunity is. Can you share just a little bit of this ingredients in your business plan, why research plays such a huge role before you even go to others?
Yeah, so you mentioned something very important, right? The utility of a business plan goes far beyond just knowing, where you are as a business. It also supports you in your funding endeavors, right? So, it is absolutely important to, establish a something that resembles a plan before you execute on anything. And I think that the working parts of the business plan are all going to address and reflect different goals in different areas, right? So, Mr. Steele, are you asking specifically about the startup capital section?
I'm really thinking about a person just understanding how just research in general in your plan
Mhm.
is. Like at the end of the day, there should be some basic facts inside there that kind of proves out your idea that there's a market here. Here's the research that I've done to kind of just give insight so that anybody who would be willing to invest would say, well, you've given some proof points as well as the pain points that you're going to face. So we know what we're up against inside this business plan, and you as the entrepreneur. So really just sharing how they can go about making sure that there's some research in there.
Yeah. So, firstly, I'm gonna suggest that you guys leverage the tools most accessible, right? I mean, that would be the internet. So there are hundreds of reports and tools that you can access for free to to review and get a better understanding of what your specific niche, what activities are going on in your specific niche, right? So, firstly, just running a quick Google search would bring you a long way. Next, I would say that you rely on your resources, and this is going to be one of the points, one of the steps to success, right? There are many resources that you can engage that are, focused on the economic development as it pertains to the business community. So I would also incentivize you guys to rely on them as mentors of sorts, to get to educate yourself and get a better understanding of what they have seen, right? Because they've seen it in volume. So yeah, it's extremely important to get that research in, right? And there are many vehicles in to achieve that, right? I would say somebody very motivated would even go as far as to visit, connect with people in the community that are in maybe in the same industry, right? Go to networking events, right? Set up intro calls so that you can learn about the processes and the procedures, learn what the best practices are so that you're not starting from scratch. That is something that you want to avoid doing, because that is essentially shooting in the dark. So yeah, getting that research in is extremely vital because it's going to inform anything really, right? Any marketing materials you put out, any strive for new business, uh, any attempt to get funding for your business, and so on and so forth.
When you think about mentorship, there are people that say, I don't know how to approach a mentor. What would you suggest are just a lead in to someone wanting to ask someone to be their mentor or to shadow them in their business before they started their own?
So yeah, this mentorship is a very interesting topic. So with mentorship, I find that first it's there's an educational component, right? You have to convey the benefits of mentorship. and we find mentorship through many sources, right? I mean, because we're living in such a digitally forward world, we could go on YouTube and look up, some segments from this program or so on and so forth, right? Listen to a speaker. But when it comes to mentorship, it is really about education, right? You want to be able to find somebody who is doing something relevant to what you're doing, or who has done, what you're striving to do. And there are obvious benefits to that. And once you learn that, the places I would say for you guys to go out and search for these mentors would be uh, uh, organizations like the National Black Chamber of Commerce, which is a network of state and regional chambers that support Black-owned businesses through economic development, access to capital, provision of resources, educational, and so on and so forth. In fact, in my work with the MDCC, we work with both micro mentors and SCORE to deploy mentors, in specific areas of business, and depending on the stage of business. And this opportunity that well, I guess we could break the ice on that a little bit. So this month, in fact, mentorship is a headline for us, right? As we're launching the Ingredients for Success, a mentorship and entrepreneurship program. It's in partnership with Famous Amos and the National Black Chamber of Commerce. And together, in honor of Wiley Amos's legacy, we plan to deploy $150,000, to 3 Black entrepreneurs, each of them receiving 50,000 each. They'll also receive wraparound services, make to ensure that these funds work to support their business plan, right? To support whatever growth strategies that they have, and also to give them mentors to help them along the way. So yeah, I mean, I hope that answered your question, Mr. Steen.
Well, you're a whole executive, so to answer my question and the insight that you provided, I think the one thing I would echo is become a member of a chamber. Definitely here, the Black Chamber is providing this opportunity, but it also gives you mentors and access is really key. Um, the other ingredients, you talk about the characteristics. What is consistency? What is being consistent? And how would you define that in a professional CEO, go to business type way?
Yeah, so consistency, and this is a very interesting point, because you can be consistent in various ways, right? But with consistency, with this point specifically, you also want to consider efficiency as well, because if you are using energy towards all your energy, and you can be the hardest working person in the world, if you're donating that energy to something that is not producing results, then it is falling in the void. So with consistency, how I would define that is number one, you need your guidelines, right? So I'm going to go back to the business plan. Consistency is being able to reflect back at your strategy and measure, your current standing in relation to that, right? So however, whatever goals you plan to achieve, whatever goals you outline in that business plan, and the timelines associated with that goal, in relation, so how much progress are you making based on those items, right? So yeah, that's how I would define consistency. With consistency, definitely, that's where I see a lot of businesses fall short. They lose the motivation, right, along the way, because of a shortcoming. Maybe they didn't get that loan from the bank. Maybe they didn't receive so and so opportunity. Maybe the foundation in which their business was standing on wasn't strong enough, right? But with that consistency, though, you can persevere. I just want to drive through that. You should definitely be following some plan, some strategy, some guidelines.
I love the fact that you use consistency. The other thing I think for young entrepreneurs or just any entrepreneur, processes. The fact that you are creating and have created processes from accounting to social media, creating models that actually are effective in creating efficiency, which leads to consistency. So for me, I love that you put it down, but I want a lot of individuals to understand that you're also encouraging them to have the consistency by having processes inside your business to make sure that you have those key components when it comes to your accounting, the key components when it comes to contracting, efficiency actually in your invoicing, the whole timeliness of being able to organize your business and set up some type of module, and technology happens. What are some of your favorite efficiency and consistency technology models that you use, tools, whether it's Checkup or any of the others that are out there?
Yeah, so I use a wide array of tools, for this specific purpose. I've explored a lot. Some of the tools that I use to manage my day to day, and there are a lot of workflows, right, throughout the day, which I imagine, you share the same experience. I use a tool called Workflowy. It's essentially a infinite document, right? So you're consolidating ideas under the bigger idea, right? So you start with one huge idea, and you by chapters you drill down on what the moving parts, the pillars of that idea is, and it kind of helps me to organize my thoughts in different buckets. Some other more known tools I use are your Google Docs, your Sheets, and I would incentivize you guys to study up on Excel to some capacity. There's opportunities now to automate using Excel and some of its integrations, right? And that's a huge one that's driving a lot of efficiency, right? Where it would be a very hands-on process to send your emails and send your invoice. Back before the true digital age, it's a lot easier now through a manual, establishing manual automation flows, or leveraging platforms out there to fulfill those roles. So yeah, I mean, one of those main areas, and then I'll stop here, is definitely communication. Communication for any business is it's a huge pillar, right? I mean, how else would you source new business? How else are you, how else are you delivering the services or product to your client? So, finding ways to automate that, to make your life easier, would help you far along the way.
So when you think about the other ingredients that you have, and you think, I would say, on just marketing and presence and embracing digital marketing, can you share some tips that young entrepreneurs, even that a judge like yourself in a program like this, would be looking to hear, and to make sure that they understand this presence, this efficiency, and that they have embraced as entrepreneurs this digital marketing movement?
Okay, yeah. So with digital presence, this is a very, very important topic that I feel, right. I mean, and I something that I think will contextualize that is, the the value now of business cards, right? I mean, what is the true value of a business card? There are not many business cards anymore, in my experience anyway, being distributed anymore, because it's all being facilitated digitally. So, in terms of digital presence, it's just an extension of that presence you're trying to establish within your community. It is extremely vital at this point, because of the volume of people who are existing on the internet, right? I mean, through every single corridor, there are so many different corridors, of socialization through the internet. So in terms of digital presence, it's absolutely vital for any business at this point to establish profiles on major social networks, including and this is just going back to the business plan. Depending on your target market, which you identify during your business plan, you'll learn that people are different places, right? Depending on your target market, maybe the base you're serving is on Instagram, or maybe if you're running a clothing store, right? But if you're running a B2B service, maybe you want to look at a platform more like LinkedIn. And I can't expect one person to manage all these platforms. And unfortunately, in our community, that's what we see, right? We see a lot of solopreneurs. So, back to the earlier point, one tool that you guys can leverage to single-handedly manage your social media presence, including your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Twitter, is a tool called Hootsuite. And that's a tool that we use internally as well. It allows you to schedule posts so that it's going out, and they share data reports to let you know when the best time to send posts are. It also gives you the ability to integrate with platforms that help you to design the content, so it could work as a central hub for your social media needs, right? So yeah, I would incentivize you guys to definitely create a digital footprint, because that's the only way to get noticed nowadays. And that's how a judge like myself would learn more about your business, right? Definitely would look for your online resume, so to speak.
So, what would be the last ingredients that would sum up how the context of start, middle, and end in a annual year? What would you say? What would be the closing ingredients?
The closing ingredients would be to monitor, evaluate, and react to your results, right? And you have to have been proactive with this point throughout the year, but at the end of the year, it's time to really assess, where, how far you've gotten, right? Did you hit all your short-term goals? Are you in line to hit your long-term goals? Did your market position get any better? Did you see your competitors do something differently, something that you might be able to leverage? Did they change their price point? And are they, do they have an advantage over you now? Well, now is the time to really assess and measure, those results, measure your success, and then react to it, right? Update your strategy. How are you going to approach the market now, based on what has happened, what based on your measure. And yeah, I mean, that's what I would suggest on that point. That is probably the most valuable point on that list. How else are you going to know you're successful without going back and seeing and manifesting that success, right? Seeing where you started from and where you are now, and then reacting to that, making adjustments along the way, which you're going to find as a business owner is extremely significant. Adaptability, right? 60% of Black businesses, closed down due to COVID, and a lack of adaptability. Weren't some of them? We saw a lot more of that in our community. I think other communities saw something like 17%. We saw 40 to 60% of businesses close, right? So yeah, make sure you're preparing for situations as well, right? Make sure your business plan is accommodating new situations arising, and make sure you're keeping that in consideration as we move forward.
Let me ask you a question for those who are gonna want to participate in this famous Amos kind of collective thinking, which I really appreciate. For a judge like you, what should they always include in their elevator pitch in front of a judge?
Yeah, so this is going to be a very interesting one for me, to experience. So with the pitch, you really have to try to sell in the shortest amount of time, right? So I would I would say think big, right? Really come with your best ideas, and uh, obviously these ideas have to be backed by some form of support, right? Some strategic support. But I as a judge personally, I want to I want to see the potential in businesses, right? So as long as you're conveying, what your goals are, and how you plan to get there, and how you plan to get there is very logical. I would say that you're in the running. So I mean, that's what I'm personally looking for. Businesses who have been hit by the pandemic, who are still working through it, who have active plans but are just lacking that flow of capital to you know take them off the ground. So yeah.
Super. I really want to thank you, Roby, for putting that together. I mean, you've given us so much phenomenal insight. Last, I'd like to ask you as a final closing out, could you at least tell us a story about what you have experienced with an entrepreneur so that other entrepreneurs can be great storytellers about their success?
What I have experienced as an entrepreneur, or what I've seen as in the.
Yeah, your journey.
Yeah. So I have yeah. So my journey. I started shortly in the space shortly after college. I went to Baruch here in New York for statistics and qualitative modeling, or quantitative modeling. Um, and through that work, I really built an understanding of business and business operations. I leveraged that to get a job in software, right? In the development of software, the development of apps and web platforms, and you know. And in my work there, we developed many relationships. The technology had personality. It was technology built for communities. So there was that's where I really built my passion to assist my community, right? So during COVID, my concerns were as big as yours and anybody else from the community, that we're losing businesses fast. So I approached the National Black Chamber, right? And I had this. I've been working for this software company, and I know the National Black Chamber as a resource supporting Black business. So using everything that I knew, all my skills, and all the resources I had behind me, I facilitated a relationship between the software company and the National Black Chamber, and we developed a platform and that was a digital platform, the American Dream Marketplace, to support Black businesses. By through the provision of resources and community, right? So they can have a safe place to collaborate and have discussions where that aren't really well received on many other platforms. So yeah, I mean, in my journey thus far, and I've really been fortunate to have worked with a lot of small businesses, right? Very hands on. The partnership between TagFi, the software company, and the National Black Chamber of Commerce really blossomed, right? It allowed us to really engage the community in a hands-on way, right? So hosting social gatherings, that are facilitated through the platform, hosting programs, building out programs through partnerships facilitated through the platform. The platform really gives the NBCC a sort of a digital strategy, right? A digital arm of sorts. So we're able to facilitate new partnerships with in areas like crowdfunding and other innovative spaces to supply support to the businesses. So yeah, a lot of my entrepreneurial journey, I would say, has really been has really been a a a search to optimize and build my own community, right? And I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I am today, and to help businesses and provide any resources that we're able to bring to the table. So that's a little bit about my entrepreneurial journey. It's always strange to hear myself talk about this. So if you have any follow up questions, Mr. Steve, please.
No, I enjoy storytelling. I think it's important that someone knows that you wanted to bring access and expertise to a community to solve the problem that is very obvious that we don't have access, expertise, digital expertise, nor the resources, and that it was a mission as yours as an entrepreneur to provide both things to a community to create a larger community to solve a larger problem. So I want to thank you so much, Roby. Charles, I really love the last name. Appreciate you. Pray for Haiti, everybody out there that can hear our voices and know that we are all one community, one diaspora. And we want to thank Famous Amos for all that they're doing to make entrepreneurs live their dreams. I'm Munson Steed, and we are here on the Business Exchange with Roby, Charles, and thanks again to Famous Amos and this opportunity that they are offering entrepreneurs to live their dreams and the ingredients for success. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. Steve.